It all starts in elementary school where we meet Ao, a little girl explaining to her classmates that her father gave her a name that means delicious in a rather suggestive way. Fast forward a few years, and now Ao is a teenager admired by her classmates. She's super strict, very studious, and has no friends. We also find out that Ao studies so hard because she wants to get into a top university and get away from her father. Trust me, there's a reason for that. Enter Takumi, a guy who praises Ao for her academic achievements and asks her how he can improve his grades. Ao bluntly tells him to study. Takumi's friends also chime in, saying the same. Ao starts thinking Takumi and his friends are quite different from her. Takumi tries to start a conversation again, but Ao tells him to buzz off, making his friends laugh at him. This scene makes Ao think that Takumi is a playboy who attracts too many people and only wants to talk to her for delicious reasons. She assumes all guys are like that. Ao storms off, and Takumi notices, thinking Ao hates him. His friends assure him not to worry since Ao doesn't get along with any guys, and the girls in the class confirm that she doesn't get along with them either. Outside the classroom, Ao overhears the conversation and decides she'll tell Takumi she hates him to get him to leave her alone. When Ao gets home, her dad is whining about dinner, but his friend Jave stops his tantrum. We learn that Ao's dad is a famous novelist who writes adult novels. Ao tells her dad she doesn't want to deal with men tonight, which makes her dad think Ao might be in love or interested in someone. The next day, the gym teacher tells Ao to go to the nurse's office to help Takumi, who twisted his ankle. Ao sees this as her chance to tell Takumi she hates him. When she gets there, she brings Takumi his uniform, and he gets nervous seeing her. Ao tries to tell him to stay away from her, but gets flustered. Then, through the nurse's office window, she sees her dad with two big signs. To prevent Takumi from seeing her dad, Ao jumps on him, and they both turn red. Takumi tells her to continue what she was saying, but Ao is too nervous. Takumi seizes the moment to confess he likes her, leaving Ao speechless. The scene cuts to Ao on the train, thinking about how she should respond to Takumi's confession. The next morning, she's still pondering it and decides to change her appearance, hoping Takumi won't like her anymore. But it backfires. Everyone loves her new look, including Takumi. Ao tries to change again, but Takumi shows up to apologize for what happened. Their conversation is interrupted by Ao's growling stomach as she skipped breakfast. So, they skip a class to grab some food and then chill on the rooftop. Takumi falls asleep, and Ao seizes the moment to measure his magic wand. Just as she's about to, Takumi wakes up and tells her she can touch it as much as she wants. Wait, don't get the wrong idea. Ao is just touching his hands, commenting on how big they are. What's happening? Seriously, what's with this girl? Ao musters the courage to tell Takumi he's too big for her, but Takumi suggests they should try anyway since it'll be their first time. Ao, thinking dirty thoughts, says she'll consider it. Yeah, this girl's mind is in the gutter. Back home, we find out Takumi and Ao exchange numbers. Ao's dad offers to help her with her new relationship by giving her several adult books. Ao doesn't want them, but eventually takes one. The next day, Ao is in a bad mood from the previous night. To calm down, she starts reading but realizes it's one of her dad's books that he slipped into her bag. And we all know those books aren't appropriate. Takumi heads over to study with a new English book he bought. In her imagination, Ao panics and throws her book at Takumi's, causing them to swap books. Takumi apologizes, thinking he's bothering Ao. Later, Ao realizes she has Takumi's book, not her dad's, and goes to find him. She spots him about to leave, but catches him just in time. They sit on a bench, and Ao fears Takumi read the adult book, while Takumi thinks they're meeting to discuss their relationship. Miscommunication ensues, with Ao talking about adult stuff and Takumi about their relationship. Takumi returns the book and suggests they study English together. Ao realizes Takumi never read her dad's book and feels embarrassed about her earlier comments. Ao dreads the upcoming school trip, thinking weird things will happen, but her dad forces her to go. On the trip day, Ao is nervous, fearing her classmates will invite her to do adult things. She bumps into Takumi, who makes her even more nervous. Ah, young love. Takumi thinks she looks cute when she's flustered. Her classmates overhear and invite Ao to a sleepover to spill the tea on her and Takumi. Ao heads to the sleepover to decline the invite but accidentally enters the wrong room. Guess whose room it is? Yup, Takumi's. His friends show up, and Ao has no choice but to hide in the closet. The guys leave to buy drinks, leaving Takumi alone. He opens the closet, finds Ao, and thinks she came to see him. Being a nice guy, Takumi tells her to come out because the others will be back soon. Ao, flustered, accidentally falls on Takumi just as the guys return. She insists it's not what they think. Later on, everyone gets together to visit a temple. The girls hatch a plan to pair Ao and Takumi up. When they arrive, Ao suddenly needs to pee. Just as she's about to go, she sees a hand and freaks out, running to Takumi to tell him about it. Takumi checks it out and finds it's just a glove. After that, Takumi notices Ao's skirt is lifted and tries to subtly tell her, but Ao doesn't catch any of his hints. She thinks his indirect comments are about her butt and gets the idea that Takumi is obsessed with her rear end, so she runs off, embarrassed. Takumi stops her to lend her his jacket, but Ao misunderstands again and bolts, twisting her ankle in the process. Takumi helps her up and tells her she's special to him, almost leading to a kiss. Ao hopes for a kiss, but Takumi just covers her exposed back with his jacket and explains that her skirt was lifted the whole time. Ao is left in shock. We flash back to Ao's past where she was always teased for her name, which has an inappropriate meaning. After waking from this nightmare, her dad hands her a letter. It turns out to be a photo of Takumi with another girl. Not good news. Ao's dad explains that the girl in the photo gave him the letter. Later at school, Ao is mad and jealous, so she confronts Takumi, who's playing soccer and looking awesome. The girls around Ao tease her about having an athletic boyfriend, but Ao denies they're dating, and so does Takumi. Takumi's friend starts teasing him about a recent triple date, which Ao overhears, making her even angrier and jealous. She tells Takumi never to talk to her again. Later, Ao eats a cake to clear her mind and considers tearing up the photo but is stopped by the girl from the photo, Miyabi. Miyabi was Ao's classmate in elementary school and used to tease her about her name. Miyabi reveals she went on the triple date with Takumi, where he confessed he likes Ao, which attracted Miyabi to him. Now she wants him as her boyfriend and asks Ao if she can have him. Ao asks if Miyabi is the type to steal boyfriends, but Miyabi says she can't stand arrogant girls with good guys. Just then, Ao gets a call from Takumi, who explains he was forced to go on the date. Ao, still upset, tells him it doesn't matter since they're not dating and he can do what he wants. Takumi agrees to stop talking to her and hangs up. Ao considers calling back to apologize, but doesn't. The next day, Takumi starts ignoring Ao, and she sees Miyabi getting close to him. At home, Ao asks her dad when guys lose interest in girls, and he says it happens when girls doubt their feelings. Time passes, and Ao and her dad go to a fair, where they bump into Takumi and Miyabi on a date. They end up visiting the same places, with Miyabi following a manual written by Ao's dad. We also find out the photo of Miyabi and Takumi was photoshopped. Takumi and Ao end up in a haunted house game, unaware of each other's identity at first. They talk about their partners and realize who they are, then awkwardly part ways. Later, Miyabi tells Takumi she's in love with him. Ao, seeing them together in front of a hotel, jumps to the worst conclusions and gets upset when they enter the hotel. Later, Ao faints from the heat while taking a bath, and Takumi finds her, bringing her to her room. When Ao wakes up, she wonders why Takumi is there instead of with Miyabi. Ao's dad shows up, making the situation even more awkward with his novel talk, but Takumi explains he was asked to carry Ao. After Ao's dad leaves, Ao accuses Takumi of being in many girls' rooms and questions him about being with Miyabi at the hotel. Takumi tells her to be quiet and listen, revealing they weren't accepted at the hotel because they're students. Takumi had asked Miyabi about Ao, which angered her, causing her to leave. Ao still doesn't believe him, so Takumi assures her he's never done anything inappropriate in his life and leaves, embarrassed. Ao is left surprised and speechless. The next day, there's a storm, but Ao is in a great mood. You probably know why. Takumi arrives in the classroom but hides to see Ao. Ao thinks she understands him because, thanks to her dad, she has more knowledge about spicy things. Later, they head to a cafe to study English. When Takumi speaks English to Ao, she gets nervous because he says something flirty without knowing it, as the English book he's using is one of her dad's. After a bit of studying, they head home, chatting about adult topics. Ao feels superior with her experience. When Takumi gets closer, she tells him it's her first time with adult stuff, gets flustered, and runs away. Later, we see Miyabi chilling in the cafe when Ao walks in. Miyabi expects Ao to lash out, but instead gets a hug as Ao admits she's scared of guys like Takumi. The following day, Ao is anxious and embarrassed, thinking Takumi discovered her weakness. She's inexperienced in spicy matters. Meanwhile, Ao's dad is meditating under a waterfall for inspiration for his next novel. Jave, his friend and editor, arrives looking exhausted. Ao tells her dad to come out of the waterfall because Jave hasn't slept well, waiting for the new novel. Jave reassures Ao that he can wait and invites her to a meat festival with beautiful girls, saying it's the perfect combo. Later, Ao runs into Miyabi, who tells Ao she doesn't belong in such places. Ao asks Miyabi why she works there, and Miyabi says it's just for money. Takumi shows up, and Ao gets jealous when he calls Miyabi by her first name while using a formal address for her. Jave arrives, and Miyabi finds him attractive. Jave calls Ao by her first name and introduces himself as her dad's partner, making Takumi jealous. Miyabi drags Takumi back to work, leaving Ao breathless. At work, Takumi can't stop thinking about what happened with Jave and Ao. Miyabi tries to cheer him up, but he's still distracted. Meanwhile, Jave and Ao gather information for her dad's novel. Ao gets lost but runs into Takumi during his break. Takumi asks about her relationship with Jave just as Jave shows up, saying they have enough info and should leave. Takumi grabs Ao's arm, calls her by her first name, and tells her not to go. Then he boldly carries Ao on his shoulders to a park, declaring he'll make her fall in love with him, which leaves Ao excited. The next day, Ao faints when she sees her grades had dropped. When summer arrives, Ao heads to a quiet hotel to study. She's early, so she starts studying elsewhere and spots Takumi, mesmerized by his physique. Takumi invites Ao out, but she declines, not wanting distractions. Miyabi tells Ao she has hours before she needs to study and suggests they buy swimsuits. Ao tries on a suit, showing it to Takumi, who is stunned. At the beach, Ao asks Takumi why he called Miyabi by her first name. He explains it was to avoid confusion with someone else. Ao asks about her swimsuit, and Takumi says it's freaking beautiful, making them both happy. Ao, feeling embarrassed, says they're alone, then tries to leave, thinking nothing will happen. Takumi stops her, apologizes, and tells her again that she looks beautiful. Ao misinterprets, thinking it's time for adult activities, but Takumi just takes her to the shore, suggesting she makes good memories and goes back to studying. Ao, frustrated, loses her hotel reservation and couldn't study. That night, she's angry, thinking about how Takumi missed all her hints. She wonders why he hasn't taken advantage of the opportunities, thinking if she were a guy, she would have done it multiple times already. At that moment, Takumi texts her, inviting her to a soccer game the next day. Ao hatches a plan to awaken Takumi's inner beast and then reject him. She replies, saying she'll come and bring food, which makes Takumi happy. The next day, she prepares all sorts of food to entice Takumi. Before leaving, she serves Jave a coffee, and her dad, seeing her ingredients, assumes she's up to something spicy and adds a special ingredient. At the game, Takumi is sad because his team lost. The girls from the fort tell Ao to cheer him up while they go to karaoke. Alone, Ao offers Takumi the lunch she made. He's thrilled, but after eating, he suddenly jumps on Ao, feeling hot and confused. They're about to get intimate, but Takumi stops, saying she should leave because he doesn't feel well. Ao yells at Takumi for not making a move, and he tells her that he wants to, but only if it's with love. Hearing this, Ao gets really happy but then stands up and tells Takumi to never ask her out again because she has more important things to do. She storms off crying. Ao is super sad about her decision but thinks it's for the best since she needs to focus on studying and getting away from her dad, as she always wanted. Meanwhile, we see Takumi studying hard to get into the same university as Ao. Later at school, Ao is surprised that Takumi has stopped talking to her, even though that's what she asked for. After a while, one of Takumi's friends approaches Ao and asks if something's wrong with Takumi because he's been in a bad mood. Takumi calls his friend over and tells him to leave Ao alone, which leaves Ao feeling heartbroken and rejected. She decides to ignore it and focus on her exams. Back at home, Ao tries to study with Jave, but she can't stop thinking about Takumi. As punishment, Jave makes her wear a maid outfit while studying. Ao still can't get Takumi off her mind. Later, Takumi shows up at Ao's house and meets Jave, who tells him not to bother Ao because she's studying. Takumi admits he knows he's a bother but wants to see her, and if she rejects him, he'll give up. Jabe lets him in. Takumi finds Ao in her room, looking miserable. He tells her he'll leave her alone and never interfere again, and then he leaves, which breaks Ao's heart even more. But just when it seems like everything is over, Ao stops Takumi and asks him to stay with her. Takumi is overjoyed, and they hug. Things start to get intense, but Ao's dad interrupts, recording the whole thing. Takumi apologizes, but Ao's dad tells him not to worry because he understands young love. As Takumi is about to leave, Ao walks into the door. Takumi thanks her for getting closer to him and suggests they study together to get into the same university. Ao, thinking Takumi is about to confess, immediately agrees, but Takumi just wants to study together. He tells her he'll wait until they get into university before making a move. Ao reluctantly agrees and sets a new goal to pass all her exams and make it to university with Takumi. Time passes, and the school festival begins. Ao isn't thrilled because she's not very athletic, but she overhears Takumi saying he won't participate in the event and will just be a cheerleader. This cheers her up as she imagines how cute he'll look in a cheerleader outfit. Takumi is cheering just to support his beloved. When Ao gets home, she tells her dad about the festival. He offers to come and support her, but Ao tells him not to because he always embarrasses her. Her dad promises not to do anything embarrassing, but Ao insists he stay home, leading to a big argument where they end up ignoring each other for days. The day of the festival arrives, and Ao feels down not seeing her dad there. She regrets what she said. Takumi notices and asks what's wrong. Ao confesses she fought with her dad, and Takumi reassures her everything will be fine and they'll make up. His words comfort Ao a bit. After saying goodbye to Takumi, Ao's dad shows up. They reconcile and forgive each other. A race starts, and Ao, motivated by her dad and Takumi, tries her best. She wins the race after her dad says something embarrassing, spurring her to shut him up by winning. In the nurse's office, we see Ao's dad nursing his wounds from Ao's loving blows. Takumi arrives, and Ao's dad asks if he liked what he said about Ao's body. Takumi, obviously flustered, admits he did. Ao starts to cry, and Takumi tells her he likes everything about her. Later, Ao tells Takumi they shouldn't study together because they get too distracted. The real reason if she's worried they'll end up doing something inappropriate. Takumi asks if she's worried about being alone with him. Ao denies it, so Takumi invites her to study at his house over the weekend since no one will be home. With her mind racing with dirty thoughts, Ao agrees to go. Later that night, Ao buys some silk lingerie online, determined to be ready for the weekend. The next day, her special package arrives, and her dad asks if she bought something adult-related. Ao denies it and shoos him away. The weekend arrives, and Ao and Takumi start studying together. Hours pass, and Takumi hasn't made a move. Ao gets frustrated and tries to drop hints during their math exercises, but nothing happens. She tries again during other subjects, but Takumi is completely oblivious. Finally, Takumi suggests that if they both get good grades on their exams, they can each ask the other for one thing. What a brilliant idea! How come I didn't think of that? Ao starts daydreaming about all the spicy things she asked Takumi to do and asks what he requests from her. Takumi, as clueless as ever, says he asked for another homemade lunch. Ao is a bit taken aback, but she decides to put in the effort to study hard, hoping for some romantic payoff. Despite her efforts, things don't go well for our protagonist. She ends up getting sick from the online lingerie and misses the exams, ruining her chances for some intimate moments with Takumi. Time passes, and Ao visits an ice cream shop where she runs into Miyabi, who's working there. Miyabi asks if Ao has made any moves with Takumi, and Ao admits she hasn't. Miyabi advises that they should at least kiss, as it's the first step in a relationship. Taking this advice to heart, Ao leaves the ice cream shop. On her way home, Ao resolves to be like Takumi, someone who doesn't focus on spicy things and will wait until university. The next day, Ao studies hard, and Takumi notices she's not as wild as before. He asks if something's wrong, and Ao initially denies it but eventually admits that they haven't kissed yet and she's unsure about their relationship. Takumi asks if she wants to try kissing. Ao agrees, but just as they're about to kiss, Takumi pulls back, suggesting another time. Ao seizes the moment and kisses Takumi herself, finally feeling a sense of peace. They share several more kisses. That night, Ao reflects on her kisses with Takumi, and her dad somehow finds out. The next day, Takumi approaches a blushing Ao, who starts wondering how he kisses so well. She suspects he's kissed other girls, making her jealous. She storms off in a jealous fit. Later, we find out that Takumi kisses well because he's practiced with his pillow, and his kiss with Ao was actually his first real kiss. They meet again at the library and decide to talk elsewhere. Ao confesses it was her first kiss, and Takumi reveals it was his first too. They clear up the misunderstanding, and Takumi steals another kiss, leading to more kisses. If you love this hilariously awkward recap of Ao-chan Can't Study and want more, drop your recommendations in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more fun and chaotic anime summaries. Stay awesome and keep watching anime.